Ready for a deep dive today? We're getting into paleontology, but maybe not how you'd expect.
How so?
We're going behind the scenes with paleontologist Luís Azevedo Rodrigues. He's got a blog, Ciencia Natural, and it's full of stories, real on-the-ground stuff.
I always find those personal anecdotes stick with you, More so than just the hard science sometimes.
Absolutely. So Rodrigues is in China, right? Studying dinosaur fossils. We're talking over 200 million years old.
Wow. So he's out in the Gobi Desert, I imagine, battling the elements for every discovery.
You'd think, wouldn't you? But actually, he's in Lufeng, this city, and his lab, a warehouse, with like 40 other people prepping fossils.
Oh, wow. That's a far cry from the image of a solitary scientist painstakingly brushing away at a fossil in some remote dig site. What a bustling lab environment that must be.
Talk about a crash course in dinosaur research. So picture this. Fossils everywhere, researchers buzzing around.
Yeah.
And then a ping pong table.
A ping-pong table. Now, that's not something you hear about every day in paleontology labs.
Right. He's using it to digitally scan these incredibly fragile fossils. Apparently, it worked amazingly well, even better than some high-tech setups.
That's ingenuity for you. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best, huh? Speaking of which, that digital scanning technology has been revolutionary for the field. To think that now researchers can create these incredibly detailed 3D models of fossils and study them anywhere.
It's remarkable. But anyway, back to Rodrigues and his ping pong table setup. Lunchtime rolls around. The paleontologist's got to eat, right?
Yeah.
So he heads out. Feeling pretty good about his progress. Comes back, and the ping pong table is gone. His fossil, the scanner, everything vanished.
Oh no, a researcher's worst nightmare. What on earth happened?
Turns out those weren't just any workers in that warehouse. They were quite the dedicated ping pong players.
Oh, that's priceless. Even in the world of groundbreaking scientific discoveries, you can't escape a good ping pong match.
It just goes to show you need to be adaptable in this field. You never know what you'll encounter, whether it's unexpected collaborators or, impromptu ping pong tournaments. And speaking of unexpected encounters, Rodrigues' next adventure takes him to a completely different continent. Rodrigues is now in the UK at the Natural History Museum in London, that iconic one.
Oh, absolutely. A proper pilgrimage for any natural history enthusiast. Did he manage to squeeze in a visit to the exhibits?
He doesn't say. He was there to work on dinosaur bones from Tendaguru.
Tendaguru! Ah, that's the site in Tanzania famous for its Brachiosaurus fossils. Those massive sauropods. Incredible to think about stumbling across those skeletons.
It really is. So Rodrigues is in the basement, laser focused on scanning a Dicraeosaurus femur talk about a massive bone when the museum's reptile curator walks in.
Sounds pretty standard so far. Can't imagine too many researchers phasing a seasoned museum curator at this point.
You'd think so, right? But then she just casually drops in this very calm British way. These bones, you see, besides being very large, are also radioactive.
Well, that's one way to spice up a research trip.
Tell me about it. And she's not just saying it, she's carrying a Geiger counter.
Okay, now that would give me pause. I was at a museum once, and they had a piece of uranium ore just behind glass. I couldn't believe something potentially dangerous was just on display like that.
It does make you wonder. Anyway, Rodrigues is obviously a bit taken aback, but he, finds the humor in it. As she's handing him gloves, super serious about the protocols, he just comes out with, "Madam, I smoke 2 packs a day, easy. Not a teetotaler, not a vegetarian. I was in China for 2 months, worked on the same bones in Berlin, and let's not forget, I live in Portugal, economic crisis and all. Do you really think this bone I'm scanning for half an hour is going to be the end of me?"
Laugh, that's brilliant. You gotta admire that kind of humor.
Right, and she's just completely unfazed. Explains that while other museums, might not be as strict, those are the rules at the NHML. And Rodrigues, ever the joker, asks her to test him with the Geiger counter.
Oh, he didn't?
He absolutely did. Good thing he's got a sense of humor, though, because those fossils weren't exactly glowing. Turns out the radiation levels from fossils are generally very low, no real threat. It's amazing, isn't it? How what starts as a research trip turns into impromptu ping pong and Geiger counters. Makes you wonder what other stories are out there, hidden in labs and digs. The best part about Rodrigues' stories, at least for me, is how they change how we see scientists. It's not all, serious lab coats and eureka moments.
Though there are a fair few of those, no doubt.
Of course, but there's also this need for resourcefulness and a good sense of humor, that ability to adapt to whatever gets thrown at you.
Absolutely.
And it reminds us that science is a process. And sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's surprising, but it's always driven by that human desire to understand things.
Reminds us you don't need a fancy lab to be curious about the world.
Well said. As we wrap up our own little deep dive here into paleontology with Luís Azevedo Rodrigues, we want to hear from you. What are some surprising realities you found in your line of work? Or maybe you've got your own story about a scientist that broke the mold. Share those stories. We'd love to hear them.